You said that they usually keep a 1%, but they can adjust it to a 1.5. So can they adjust it back down to 1%? How does that compensation work, and how frequently can they change it?
Yep. It's a quarterly change, right? So to answer the frequency, generally every quarter you can look at your compensation and adjust it. The way that this works, and it's not something that's necessarily charged to the borrower, but let me put it into an example that might make sense. Okay. So let's go back to that 5% rate. This time I'm going to talk about myself, right? And so let's say that if we're quoting a borrower, for our company, we're going to quote a borrower 5%. If we quote 5%, that'll have enough margin in there to cover the 1%. We don't have to charge the borrower anything in additional. All right. Now let's say that we come back and say, we're going to change quarterly. We're going to, we're not losing any deals to rate. Our competitors, we check locally. Our competitors are way ahead of us. Like, you don't want to be, again, like, you want to manage the margin well and smart. Like, you don't want to be at the bottom floor forever. You need to be in a spot where you're competitive and having a good offer and a good rate, and it's better than the competitors around you. Yeah. And so if you see that you have some room, right, and that can benefit in a certain type of way, we would quarterly look at that, increase the margin to 1.5%, let's say. That 0.5%, the way that it's translated into the borrower is that instead of 5%, they might be at 5.125 when you quote that rate. Okay. So it's not like, okay, borrower pays $5,000 like out of pocket, or whatever the 0.5% is out of pocket, yeah. $2,500 on a $500K. You're not going to pay that out of pocket per se, but it might be like a tick, an eighth higher on the rate. Now, is that the worst thing when, let's say that your competitor is charging $5,000 in origination points and fees at a 5.5% rate? It's not crime if you go from 5 to 5.125. Mm-hmm. You're already still no cost to them, way better than the rest. Yeah. So if we're looking at that and we're saying, okay, in this market, this geography, we are local, this is where we're at, these are where our competitors are at, and often because our sources of financing are so affordable, competitive, there's like already naturally just a big gap between retail and how we do it. You can adjust that up and still be okay. So if you do need to do that, go for it. But if at the next quarter you're like, oh, we lost a couple deals because we weren't as competitive, number one, we can look at on an individual deal, as long as we get like a competing quote or something like that, we can manage pricing exceptions and bring that rate down or whatever it may be. Like, that's not a big deal. We have to have proof, but it's not a big deal. We can do that, but also adjust the margin on the next quarter. If we say, okay, let's be a little bit more sharper in pricing, we maybe lost a deal or lost a couple deals to pricing, like borrower went another direction. Very rare that would happen. I don't think it would often, very rarely. But somebody out there maybe.